This is a substantial allotment and allocation. So I think the if the sponsor can kindly give us an explanation of why a budget of 1 billion is being put up, because this is in other words, when the general appropriations bill is prepared, we already allotted 1 billion without any without any explanation and rationalization for this earmarking.
The chairman of the Committee on Agriculture, Senator Sen Villar, is seeking the floor with the permission of the two gentlemen.
We are just institutionalizing into law the executive order that provides that 25% of our greening program should be planted with bamboo. And then there is another executive order that says the DepEd is mandated to buy 25% of their chairs made of bamboo. So we're just institutionalizing it. Because that is an executive order.
Mr. President, 2 points. First, it is just an executive order. Second point, nothing therein earmarks 25% for bamboo plantation. It allocates 25% of the area. If the lady from Las Piñas will read carefully what EO 193 says, it allocates 25% of the area, not 25% of the budget.
So the question of the gentleman from Iloilo is, how did the committee arrive at the figure 25%?
And which is equivalent to 1 billion.
It was a proposed amendment, and because that percentage was repeatedly mentioned in the EO, but the minority leader is correct. It is not an amount. So it's up. So we can adjust the said amount, Mr. President. So we can. So the sponsor is open to an amendment. What's the proper term?
Amendment to the amendment.
Amendment to the proposed amendment,
yes.
by just touching the percentage, Mr. President.
Oh, Mr. President, this is a completely new provision. We have not debated on this because this was not found in the original committee report. It is not. We're not prepared to bargain and say 1% or 10% or 19%. It will be arbitrary. We are willing to support 1 billion, but we would like to know how the 1 billion was arrived at. I think it's fair. So before anything else, may we know how 1 billion was arrived at for purposes of the bamboo industry? Can we have, how was this arrived at?
Well, the gentleman from Mindanao.
Senator Lacson wants to contribute, Mr. President.
Senator Lacson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I recall correctly, during the budget deliberation of DNR, it was agreed that 1 billion will be taken out under the item national greening, but it did not materialize. The appropriations of 1 billion remains with the national greening program. But if we will review the records, the transcript of the deliberation, plenary deliberation, it was pointed out by Secretary Simatu that he was requesting that we allocate some amount for the bamboo industry.
Well, yeah, maybe so, Mr.
But
President.
the minority leader is correct. There is no showing that 25% or 1 billion should be appropriated or allocated to the bamboo industry. In the first place, there's no law yet.
Yeah,
this is the law now.
This is proposed. So to respond to the question, it's purely policy, Mr. President. It was a proposed amendment, the 25%. So if we find that too much or too big an amount, we can adjust, Mr. President.
Mr. President, with all due respect, this is not a question of policy. This is a question of appropriating 1 billion. So it is, I believe that in his basis for us to ask, how was the 1 billion arrived at? Why not 2 billion, for example? This is a budget, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Senator Villar.
you know, in my experience in the department, if you don't indicate the amount that they will allocate, they won't do it. So if you want to help the bamboo industry, then you have to indicate in your law what you're going to bring to the bamboo industry. That's how I do it, because I work with the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. If it is not provided in the law, they won't do it. So I'm just asking the senator that if we're going to help the bamboo industry, let's indicate what we're going to give the bamboo industry.
Yes, Mr. President, there is no question.
And I want to remind the senator from Iloilo that you are the bamboo
that's
capital
immaterial.
of the Philippines. You have the best bamboo plantation in the Philippines, the one in, what's your town?
Mr. President, I hope that the gentle lady from Las Piñas will stop alluding to personal motives.
That's my
Even if
experience.
Iloilo does not have a single peso, if in fact we can justify 5 billion, I will support 5 billion.
No.
But we cannot just
okay.
we cannot just say 1 billion and we do not even know how this was arrived at.
Wait. The point of the gentleman is he wants to know how the figure was arrived at.
Yes.
And therefore, perhaps we can discuss it further, because it was not taken up during the period of interpellation. That's how I take it, and that is the point. Majority
We ask
Leader-
for a 1-minute suspension, Mr. President, so we can confer with all the proponents of the measure.
Session suspended.